that you make them feel. Good or bad, it really doesn't matter, my friends, because you can be an angel, so sweet, and someone can still dog on you and treat you like you are dog do on the bottom of their shoe. What's up with that? What gives? That's kind of tough to deal with, isn't it? When you're constantly, or more often than not, the object of someone's ill intentions and the object of someone's apathy. It causes us to then jump through hoops. If you don't know what the heck's going on, you bend over backwards just to please them or help them out of their bad mood. And you do what you can to cheer them up because you're just a cheerful person. That's who you are. You're trying not to take this personal, but yet you know it is. It's personal. And whatever you do to appease the situation, to appease their mind or what's going on in their hearts, it just doesn't work. So why do people act like we are the worst people on earth when we haven't done anything to deserve it? Even if we did do something to deserve it. Why can't people just be honest and tell us like it is? Tell us how they feel. Like, look, man, I know we got to live together, but I really don't like you right now, so please just leave me alone. Or, yeah, I know we go to the same class together, and yeah, we were friends, but I'm really needing some personal time on this. I'm really need some time to think. I need some space, okay? I mean, what's wrong with that? And the thing is, even if there was bad blood between the two of you, you guys seemingly solved it and you can move on, but why can't the other person? They just seem to mistreat you no matter how well you treat them. Like, what the hell? It seems like they've never moved past anything and they treat you without even saying it that you're to blame. And their silence or their side eye and stink eye holds you to the fire. Like, why can't they let it go? And why does it hurt you so much? Why does it make you feel so uncomfortable? Well, I'm giving you the memo here, friends, because this is your PAFE, your personal announcement for you. Listen up. How a person treats you? Well, they say people treat you the way that they see you treat yourself. Well, I used to say that too, but no, that's not it. Because how people treat you has nothing to do with you. You know the saying? People don't remember who you are or what you did. They remember how you made them feel. That's truthful. That's the truth right now. And in this video, I'm going to tell you why that is. So hang with me and you'll get the inside scoop on what makes us tick. This issue is a growing concern, and people who value you will treat you in kind. See, God says that the love of most has grown cold, and you are seeing that even though people hide behind a facade of kindness, the veneer of compassion, the way they treat you says everything. If you are someone who treats others kindly no matter what, no matter who they are or what they've done to you, you're a special kind of person, and I want to hang with you. Seriously, the world needs more of you. I mean, how can we argue with that? I'm right. And I'm not being facetious or rude or uppity and snooty. It's just the facts. The world needs more kind people. And you're the kind of person that I want to center my life around in the way of hang with and have that positive influence and be mentored by you. Because this life, I don't know about you, but for me, it's been a learning lesson. And I love learning. And I want to do better by being better. I want to grow better, because being the positive influence for other people is what makes this life better for our future generations. It does take a village. And we are the village. We are the village people. Why? No, I'm not going to sing that song. We know what that song's about. Even though I loved that song when I was a kid. So I personally want to hang out with people who are sincere and kind. They've got our back. They've got your back. But the people who do not treat you with genuine sincerity and kindness, well, they can't be trusted. And yet we still try to put ourselves in positions where we are vulnerable to their mistrust, thinking, oh, they'll treat me nicely. I can trust them because they're people too. Well, you can trust what you see. You know that saying, I can't trust that person as far as I can throw them? Yeah. The person that treats you in the person that treats you in unkindness, is that a word? Where they treat you in a way that is just full of apathy, their hearts are like stone. I'm going to talk about this stone later on, but you see the words on it. Fear. And I wrote little descriptions. I'm going to talk about this later on. But you can be assured that someone who does not have love for you, who does not, and love is not defined as being physical affection for somebody. Having love for somebody is just a genuine care and concern for someone. And when someone doesn't have that genuine kindness and concern for you, instead they show you their disdain, their ambivalence, their apathy, this is what you can trust. Because that is what comes from their stone cold heart. Seriously. So, welcome friends to another live video with me, moi, Shannon Gilmore. You are watching Positively Spiritual, and I am your host, Christian author, peer support, mentor, Shannon Gilmore. Let's give us all a round of applause because we are here. You guys have helped make this channel grow. Wow, I am so excited. And doing these lives, you guys are just awesome. The interaction that we have on these lives, the questions that you ask me, oh my gosh, and the emails, keep them coming. Keep them coming with your questions, comments, and suggestions. You can find me at ko-fi.com/Shannon Lynn. That's my website where I've got all my authored content, courses, booklets, books in PDF format. And you can also hit the email and find me at your local email, shannongilmore@protonmail.com. So, I'm here today answering a question that I'm sure we have all asked. I still keep asking it even though I know the answer. Why do some people not give back to us emotionally what we, have given back to them? We're going to spill it today. We're going to spill the tea. Yeah. I'm going to let you know what is spiritually going on with people who treat us the way that they do, and it has nothing to do with us. Well, it does, but it doesn't. It doesn't need to be complicated, my friends. Excuse me. I got a frog in my throat. It doesn't need to be complicated. It only needs to be truthful. And complication occurs when we try to avoid the truth because the truth makes us uncomfortable. People treat us badly, dirty, and ugly because we make them feel uncomfortable. Now, this probably isn't conscious, as, like I said, people treat us because of their stone cold hearts. It's already in there, and we can't change it. We show up as our authentic selves with nothing to hide. We treat people the way, not that we just want to be treated, but we treat everybody the way that we are human, with human decency, human compassion. But when someone does not show up to the game, to the party, to the relationship, to the conversation, as thinking that we are anybody on an equal footing, but yet we are lesser, oh my gosh, this exposes them to their authentic self. And this hurts when we're not mindful of this, because a person who shows up stone cold hearted, that hurts because that's who they really are. And they cannot express genuine kindness just because. They can't let things go. They are holding a grudge. They need a motivating reason to be kind. Oh, we don't. So just think about that for a moment. It's hard for us, those of us who are empathetic, kind, sincere. It's hard for us, sorry about the glare on my glasses. It's hard for us to hold a grudge. It's hard for us to just, I'm not going to show my anger towards this person because that wouldn't be nice. That would hurt their feelings. No, we don't show up to the party like that. We don't show up to life like that. We show up for ourselves like that when we wake up and we're just like, oh, another day. Oh, is my life ever going to get better? But then when someone who we interacted with on a bad light, maybe even weeks before, the day before, we think, oh yeah, I got to deal with this person. And yet you have all these ruminating thoughts in your mind that you really don't like this person and you really want to say what you want to say to this person. And you have, preconceived conversations in your mind before you enter into any sort of dialogue with this person. But yet when you meet, there's no clash. It's like, hey, how are you doing? You act like you're best friends. You act like you're on good terms with this person. And the other person is like, stone cold, giving you the stink eye, ignoring you, not acknowledging you, not even saying, hey, fist bump, or even a wave, nothing. You're like, hi, how are you? Good to see you. You're looking good. And they just walk away. How can they get away with that? Is that good? Well, it definitely gets the point across, but we're not listening. Why? It hurts us when we have this need to be accepted. But when people treat you this way, when you are self-aware and you understand it's not you, it's them, and you're working on yourself to shine a different light. You're still the same person, but you don't shine the way that you used to. Because you're not going into this world looking for acceptance in order to feel something about yourself that gives you reason for life. Now, instead, when you meet up with somebody who is apathetic, ambivalent, cruel, dismissive, you show up as your authentic self. Hi, how are you? Okay. You don't say anything, but you take mental note and you take that to heart. Okay. For whatever reason, and I don't need to be the reason why they're giving me the stink eye. I don't need to be the reason why they're ignoring me, but they are making a choice to ignore me. So I'm going to respect that boundary that they just put in place and allow them to ignore me and keep my distance, because obviously they don't want anything to do with me. And if they did, they know where to find me. They have a mouth, they can speak up. And chances are, if you have had dealings with this person time and time and time and time again, maybe they just don't like you. And that's something that you've got to deal with. However, if you have dealt with them in a negative way and you see now who they truly are, a narcissist, well, or a toxic person, you can then genuinely find it in your heart to know who they are. See, a person who genuinely does not like you for whatever reason, and again, like I said, you guys may have had some bad, dirty dishes between you, the two of you, but you guys worked it out and the two of you came to some sort of mutual agreement. And yet when you see them, they're acting as if they still are hurt or they hate you. Let them do that. Let them be that way towards you. Because who they are in that moment is the truth. You don't need to know the reasons or how they're feeling in order to understand the truth. They are ignoring you. They are not acknowledging you on purpose. Can you handle that? If you can't handle that without having a reason, then that shows you that you've got some areas on yourself to work on. Now, the reason why people treat you unkindly, it's been said, people treat you the way that they see you treat yourself. Well, no. Because you know yourself. I mean, that sounds good on paper, right? That sounds like someone who says that is really smart and astute and psychologically in tune to their inner being. But when you dissect this, we don't go around treating people the way that we see them treat themselves. Like, we're not that observant. Like, come on. Most people have a lack of boundaries. You know, we don't go around and say, oh, that person just dismissed themselves there, so that gives me license to dismiss them too. No, it's not that complicated, and we're hardly mindful of ourselves. So how can we be mindful like that to other people? So I want to just dismiss that saying right now. There's a little bit of truth to it, but psychologically speaking, we don't have people's back like that. We treat people the way we treat people is because of who we are in here. We treat people in a natural way. And toxic people who are apathetic, who give you the stink eye, who ignore you, who are dismissive, who are aggressive with you, who would rather not deal with you, is because of who they are. They are toxic, troubled. They are apathetic in nature. Because human nature is we do things for ourselves. We talk to this person and that person based on how they make us feel, based on how we feel around them. That's why we keep coming back. When you don't socialize with somebody anymore, when you cut off your interaction with them, when you cut off access to your persons, like to your being, that says something that you do not want to hang around that person. When your behavior has you put on the brakes and put up those boundaries, those unspoken and invisible boundaries, by you keeping yourself at a distance, that shows others that you don't want to socialize with them. So you have behaviors that protect you and keep harmful people away from you based on your needs, your wants, your desires, because you are taking care of number one, you're taking care of you. So you're treating yourself the way that you want to be treated. And if somebody is dismissive with you, yeah, you'll try a few times, but hopefully after a few times of having the same repeated demeanor shown towards you, you're going to get the hint that this person does not want to be in your corner. This person doesn't want to associate themselves with you. Can you accept that? Really, can you? People treat you the way that you make them feel. And I want to dig in on this a little bit. Because there is a saying, again, like I mentioned, people don't remember what you did. They remember how you made them feel. And when someone is naturally apathetic, when someone is naturally aggressive, when someone is naturally dismissive, they have a cold heart. Because Jesus says, the love of most will grow cold. And love does not mean a physical affection between man and woman. Love is a friendship love, a love that you have for a parent or a sibling. It comes from the heart. And how you express that from that emotion from the heart is to be kind, be there for them, help them out in their times of stress, support them. Socialize with them, get to know them, really bond with them to see what makes them tick. Show a genuine kindness, compassion, and concern for someone. That's love. As love is patient, kind. It is not boast. It is not rude. It keeps no record of wrongs. It doesn't delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always hopes, always trusts, always perseveres. Love never fails. And so when you see the love of someone grow cold for you, and you see this disdain, trust it. Trust the anger that they have towards you. Trust the apathy that they show. Trust that stink eye or side eye. Trust it. That's who they are. And that is how they feel towards you. And when you notice, like when you really observe that person, if you know for certain that they do carry narcissistic traits, and maybe they have a hint of, I don't know, some sort of maybe anxiety disorder, borderline personality disorder, maybe they're bipolar, you can understand the signs. You've been through this enough. You've read probably pages and pages and pages and articles about narcissism and psychopathy and all of the diagnoses, the cluster B diagnoses, the comorbidity. You've done your homework. So you know that somebody who has consistent behavior, apathy towards you, that's a problem. And where am I going with this? Well, okay, yesterday when I do yard work or when I drive my car, that is when I get in touch. Like that is when I just zone out and I start thinking and contemplating about life. And that's when I have my best conversations with God, when I'm quiet or when I ask him questions and he's there. And I was asking God about a particular person and he gave me the answer. And the answer is that the situation between myself and this person, I saw the signs way back. And I broke my own boundary by becoming involved with this person and doing my best to help them out because they reminded me of who I used to be. Neck deep in trauma as I was acting out trauma and I didn't know it. And if I did know it, I really didn't care. Because I gaslit myself into believing that I was okay. And so this person mirrored and reminded me of the help that I needed. And I didn't know how to ask, and everybody else was too scared to reach out to me and say, hey, because if people were to come to me back then, 20 years ago, and say, Shannon, we need to talk, that behavior is not acceptable, I would have blew up in their faces and I would have just raged. And I would have severed the relationship right then and there because it was like, you can't tell me who I am and who I want to be. Excuse me. Because my expression of self had no filters. And I think when we are so troubled and so hurt that we don't know how to put the filters on because we don't know what that looks like. Because in our times of trauma, we've been so controlled that our voices were stifled. We couldn't speak up for ourselves. We couldn't speak up for what we wanted or didn't want. Our voices were taken away. And so when we find our freedom, there's no filter on that. We go to the opposite extreme and it's just like, blah. There we are. So if you can approach somebody who shows you that they don't like you, if you can understand why they may not like you, you don't have to agree with why. You don't have to agree. It may hurt you why they don't like you, but you have to accept it. You have to accept their boundaries. And if you can't accept their boundaries, if you're ruminating in your mind why they don't like you, what you can say, what you should have said, what you can do to help the situation, then I would suggest you looking at your inner being, because that rumination is a symptom of some sort of attachment deficit. It's not your job to make somebody see who you truly are. It's not your job to get somebody to accept you. It's your job in life to be who you are meant to be, in authentic self. It's your responsibility in this life to live in your truth. And it's your responsibility to figure out what your truth is. To heck with everybody else. Until you figure out yourself and until you figure out who you are, you don't have a responsibility to anybody yet. It's when you figure out who you are, then your responsibility is not to get anybody to like you. Your responsibility is to share what you know about how you came about to discovering who you are, to help other people discover who they are and discover their purpose and talents in life, and help them grow to be the loving, kind, empathetic individuals to spread the love. That's your responsibility once you figure out who you truly are. It's not your responsibility to help heal the people with the stone cold hearts. Now, speaking of hearts, this rock represents something to me. As so, does this one. I'm obviously going to put an elephant on this rock. But this rock looked just like this one. On this rock, this says fear. And so did that other rock. It's funny how I don't know if you can see that. There you go. The coloring of my felt came through the paint as I wrote fear on this rock too. And I wrote some green pen and blue pen and red pen, all the feelings that I was feeling from this specific fear. But I hadn't painted this one yet. And on the backside, loss of identity. And it says, used female. No voice, no value. My body does not belong to me. Mistrust. And I can't read what that says. But this fear came about from my sexual molestation when I was a child. I endured it when I was 5 years old, and that caused me to look for sex, thinking that bonding myself to a guy, if they did that with me, then that meant they loved me. So I went looking for love in all the wrong places. And this caused me, this engagement with this person caused me to devalue myself and put aside my wants and my needs and who I am and look towards other people for my value. And that's what trauma does. No matter what type of trauma happens to you, trauma causes you to disassociate from yourself so that you associate yourself with other people. And when people treat you badly, that's familiar to you. And so you automatically gravitate to that. And if you haven't figured it out yourself yet in your trauma, you're going to gravitate to it. And when people treat you shitty, pardon my language, but when they treat you crappy, you will ruminate in your mind and try to figure that out. And you will attach yourself to them either in mind or attach yourself to them by seeking them out and trying to establish some sort of relationship with them. This is to appease your inner self. This is to appease the rejection. This is to appease the hurt and pain that you endured from the initial trauma. And by you not accepting that a person is allowed to be who they choose to be, who they want to be, then you're going to have a problem, not with just other people. You're going to have a problem with yourself, because you are allowing unknowingly the trauma of other people. You are allowing the personality of other people to rule you. Now I'm sharing with you this rock because I am creating 5 videos in a retreat, and this retreat has you collect rocks. And on these rocks, you will write down your trauma, the traumas that are most closest to your heart, the traumas that have followed you around until now. And on this rock, I used 5 rocks. And on these rocks, I wrote fear, because the underlying equation that makes life what it is love and fear. And trauma is caused by fear, as it creates more fear. Or it doesn't create it, it brings out the fear dormant in you and brings it out, to which you express. And that's why people treat you unkindly, is because they are choosing to be dominated and express the fear in them, because they don't know themselves, because they've been traumatized themselves, and they're choosing, excuse me, they are choosing to act out the fear in themselves because that is familiar to them. And that is what they know, because healing themselves of that fear is too scary, because love is something that they don't know. They've never been shown love, so they can't figure that out. And so when you show up loving and kind and compassionate and, yeah, let's do this, and you got this zest for life and you're excited to be in the present moment, they're like, what the hell's wrong with you? You're just too excited for me. I can't handle you. Or they just, who you are naturally rubs them raw, because they're not embracing love. And so in this retreat, I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. In this retreat, I will have you write down not just your fears on 5 rocks, but also on paper, as you will write love letters to yourself. You will write out a letter of remembrance, but in a way that has you let go. And this is the point. To basically write out your fears, write out your feelings of what this trauma then caused you, how it caused you to act, how your trauma took away your voice, took away your autonomy, took away your spark, your creativity, your childhood. And I share something deep with you that will make this work make sense. Fears are not our own. You know, energy cannot be created or destroyed, right? When you look at positivity and negativity, these are our feelings that we think are our own. It's a mouthful. We assume that trauma creates fear. we assume that trauma creates negative emotions and negative feelings. And we assume that we have to live with these negative emotions and negative feelings for life. I've had people say to me, I am who I am. I'm not. Yeah, I've been traumatized. Acknowledgement is not healing. You want to heal, you got to look at the trauma. And I'm here to tell you, fear cannot be created nor destroyed, and love cannot be created nor destroyed. And both come from God, our Father in heaven. That's why we have the book of Revelation, because only Him, He, excuse me, can destroy fear, which creates sin. So, there is something that I am just, I want to share with you guys in this video. But I want you guys to do the work with me. I want you guys to take the time to figure this out and figure out your trauma and get in touch. There we go. And get in touch with your creative side. Because trauma has us on our left brain thinking, our analytical side, our critical thinking. And it's our left brain, that monkey mind, that inner critic that's always saying negative things about you. I can't do that. No, I'm not good enough. No, I'm such a loser. No, how could I'm such a dolt? Why did I think that? That is coming from your negative thinking mind. And if you just get in touch with your creative side, and you know what? It's really easy. I'm going to give you a hint right now. You want to get in touch with your creative side, to think on possibilities are endless, to think of, find solutions for your problems that your analytical mind cannot solve. Turn your conscious inward. Turn your awareness inward, okay? And just, if you have to, just close your eyes for a minute and think of these eyes turning inwards and looking inside towards your brain. Wherever your focus goes, or wherever your attention goes, the energy flows. So whatever you give attention to, that's what is going, where all your energy is going to go, and you're going to become mindful. So what I'm saying is, when you focus your eyes inwardly and look at your brain, look at it in its entirety, but laser beam focus toward the right, your creative center. And then just ask a question. Is there a solution? Help me find the solution. I know there's a solution. And just sit with that for a minute. You will see that your life, your feelings become brighter. The shadow that hangs over you, that dark cloud, lifts. And you will find yourself humming and singing, maybe even skipping a little bit. You'll find yourself thinking differently. You'll find yourself just more lively. When you allow yourself to just concentrate just a few seconds at any given moment, just do a self-check. If you're feeling down, if you're feeling bad, if you're feeling like, oh, life just, oh, is it ever going to get any better? If you find yourself feeling frustrated, just give yourself a personal vibe check. Turn those papers inside and focus, laser beam focus your attention on the right side of your brain. because where your attention goes, energy flows. And what that means is what you give attention to is what comes back to you. Whatever feelings you give attention to comes back to you. God says you reap what you sow, right? Yeah. So in this retreat, I have something that I did not realize. God gave this information to me right when I was writing about it the other day. I was trying to figure out and do the outline for the retreat, and bam, 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 bam. God just started working and sharing with me what he wants you to know. And yeah, I started focusing on the, not so much the analytical side, but the creative side, and just let God speak to me, because God speaks to you from your creative center, not your analytical center, because your analytical center stops the possibilities. I can't do that. That's not possible. That's never done. That will never be done. But with God, all things are possible. So that's just something to think about, as feelings cannot be created or destroyed. It's their energy. And they, as you've heard me say, they emanate from your body and they go out into this big wide world and gravitate to other people. And that is how we become a stumbling block to other people. Hi, Marinara. Thank you. Hi. Nice to see you. Thanks for showing up. It's great to see you. I hope you enjoy this channel. I hope you enjoy this video. Just talking about somebody who doesn't like you, and how do you deal with that, and where does that come from? So if you haven't watched the beginning of this video, I invite you to, after we're done, to just watch the video and let me know what you think. Send a comment. So in this retreat that I have for you, God gave me a secret underpinning to our spirituality that I do not think, I have yet to come across it. I do not think psychologists are even talking about it, because psychologists, most of science doesn't address the spirituality of mankind. And our feelings are our spirituality. Our feelings make up our character. We respond to situations with feelings as it's natural. But becoming self-aware, when you become self-aware, you learn not to respond to situations with your feelings. You learn to just look at your situation from a non-judgmental perspective and just say, that's interesting. I don't like that, but I accept it and it's okay. Things will get better. Instead of having something bad happen to you and you react with tears and anger and that is what brings more to you, because when you express a feeling, you are just discharging energy. It's like energy running through a wire. Here, you've got a wire here, right? If I plug this into the energetic outlet, into the battery or whatever it may be, an outlet that has the current already, and I flip the switch and I connect the current, then there's energy flowing through this. There's energy flowing through us all the time. And when we give this energy flow, it's directed through us, through our nervous system. But when we flip the switch and give the current of energy value through allowing it to become expressed, then we're flipping the switch on and we're allowing that energy to discharge at its full capacity out from us, and other people get zapped by it. Who you are inside is based on the energy that you are expressing. God wants us to be a state of being of consistent energy flow from the loving kind, not from the fearful kind. And if energy cannot be created or destroyed, such as our feelings, where do our feelings come from? I'm going to have you sit on that question as I answer that question in a retreat, because I guarantee this understanding will lessen the discharge of your negative feelings and your trauma. I'm going to be painting this rock, and this rock, I wrote out fear, and I wrote out that all my trauma, my 5 major traumas that I've been dealing with over my life, they all have a theme. And chances are yours do too. My theme was a loss of identity. And I think that can be all our themes of trauma. And on this rock, I'm going to paint a snake. All my rocks have animal figures. The elephant represents my mom. Well, okay, so here's a backstory. They say spiritually animals are like a totem for you, and I often dream about animals. And since I've been ridding myself of my trauma and adopting love as my state of being, I notice that animals, wild animals, even domestic animals, are more friendly to me. Like, I can pass somebody's dog and they just want to run up to me and have me pet them, and it's just it's a good feeling if animals, because animals do, they see your spirit, they see your spirit radiating out from you. It's called your aura. Animals see auras, and if they can see that and sense your goodness from you, that helps you to know that you're on the right path, because animals have a direct connection to God. So anyways, so I decided on my rocks, instead of just drawing in a random, shape, colorful, fancy designs, I decided on my rocks to paint animals. Now, I'm not going to get too intricate in detail, just a cartoony figure. But for me, this is an elephant outline, and I want to draw on there and leave a lasting impression of something of myself. And elephants are my favorite animal. But also, elephants are from Africa, and my mother, who traumatized me, who is responsible for a major part of my trauma, she has always wanted to go to Africa. Well, that's something that we share, as I want to go to Africa as well to befriend an elephant. And so that's the commonality, that the living legacy that I have between her and I now. No longer the trauma, but the living legacy to go visit somewhere out of country, as we have our own appreciation for creation. I don't know why she wanted to visit Africa. All I know is, for me, that is the common denominator between her and I now, and I can appreciate her more. And I can't say this without telling you guys the secret spiritual detail, but I can appreciate her more for the feelings that her and I share. That's all I can say. And the rock that I did for my dad, it was funny because I I was going through my rocks yesterday and I was trying to figure out what to paint them. And this work that I have us do, as I'm not just putting a retreat out for you guys, I'm doing the work first. I'm doing the work first before I hand you guys the retreat in video and say, here you go. I'm putting it to the test. I'm putting my words and God's insight to the test first. And so far, frick, it's working. It is working. And I'm loving it. So yesterday I'm painting some rocks. And I had 4 rocks. And I'm like, where's the 5th one? My dad, the trauma that he put on me of him, I've never met him. I've talked to him once. And knowing who he was and how he treated my mom and my sister and myself before I was even born, as he tried to kill my mom, he tried to kill my sister, and he tried to kill me when I was in my mother's womb. So that left a lasting negative impression that I finally have been acknowledging over the last 6 years and working that out. And in doing this exercise that God led me to write out, do you know that I had 4 rocks sitting out in front of me as I started to paint them? I'm like, where's the other rock? I know I'm supposed to have 5. And I could not remember who that trauma was attached to. Okay, I got this person, that person, this person, this person. Who's the other person? Who's the other person? There's supposed to be 5 rocks here. I've only got 4. What's the other trauma? Yeah, I was so surprised that happened. And the trauma that I had forgotten was the trauma with my dad. And on that rock, I want to paint an ostrich, because ostriches, and it's so funny because I didn't even have to give any thought to it. It just came to me. The animal representation just came to me. And here's the kicker. This is so neat. Your spiritual just comes out, and if you allow your creativity mind to soar, your spirit will shine and give reason to things that don't necessarily make sense. Because on my rock, I want to paint an ostrich. Now, ostriches have this cliche about them that isn't true, but it comes from cartoons where you see the ostrich stick its head in the sand, meaning that it gets fearful and it just, I don't see that, it runs, its way of running away, sticking its head in the sand and not being mindful of anything, of what's going on. Well, that was my dad. My dad stuck his head in the sand, pretended that I didn't exist, ignored me all my life, and ignored his responsibility for the situation that he helped to create. And for that reason, I, like him ignoring me and believing my mother told my dad, this is how the story goes, as there was a witness. My mother told my dad that when she was pregnant with me that I wasn't his child, so he got enraged and he went to go get his gun and effectively do something disastrous to the family. And so all my life, I didn't know this story until maybe in my early 20s. So growing up, I had this uncontrollable fear to deal with and to catch somebody in a lie. And if somebody accused me of something and I was innocent, I would jump through hoops to prove that I was innocent. And I didn't know why. But this was part of me working out my trauma and seeing that I no longer need to people please, and my word is my bond, and if people don't accept that, well then too bad, so sad. I'm not here on this earth to please people. I'm here on this earth to make myself happy. So put in ostrich on this rock is actually undoing the lie, the cliche of ostriches putting their heads in the sand, because ostriches are really smart and they are protectors. People use them on farmlands to protect the livestock. And I've fought for my right to live. I've fought for my right, and I don't need my dad's approval. I've fought for my own approval of being here by working on my trauma. So I want to paint a nice, beautiful face of an ostrich on that rock. On the other rock that I had was dealing with my foster family, where they took away my voice. My foster mom mirrored my birth mother in a lot of ways. And she wasn't an alcoholic, but she was stern, cold, and ambivalent, and showed no apathy or showed no empathy towards me. And so on that rock, I want to paint a fox, because foxes are stealthy, they're sly, sly like the fox. And I had to maneuver my way in that home to be under the radar, where I did not stand up for myself. I didn't raise my voice to my parents and say, hey, that's wrong, you can't treat me that way. They said something to me, I did it. They told me to go to my room, I did it. They said you're grounded, I accepted it. And I also, like a fox, they steal chickens and eggs from the hen house, right? Well, I did the same thing. I began to act out. I began to steal. I began to lie in attempts to get noticed, in attempts to get attention. But yet I didn't want that kind of attention. I wanted someone to just love me. And so that is another animal that I paint on that rock that represents the trauma from my foster family. So, and then in doing this, I had 5 traumas and 4 major traumas that I was exposed to growing up as a kid. And my 5th and final trauma was, I recognized, and it just jumped out at me, is that I married all 4 of my traumas, as my 5th trauma was my marriage of almost 20 years. Everything that I went through in my marriage with this other person mirrored my 4 traumas in some way. And so on that rock, I want to paint a butterfly. A butterfly represents transition. And I'm not the same person who I was going into that marriage, as I'm not the same person I was coming out of that relationship. And I can look back and see who I was and recognize that I'm not the same person, and I can love every person I became in those trauma situations. I can love myself. And if I can love myself, then I can love others. And I can accept that other people will not love me, and it's okay. The world is not going to end because someone doesn't like you. So if you have questions, comments, or suggestions, please email me, as I value your input. I value your questions, and I will answer your emails. I will, even if you give me permission, I will share your question on video if that is something that you would like, so that others can get an insight on maybe something that they are struggling with, that maybe you have a question that they're scared to ask. So today is Monday, and it's a holiday here in Canada, and so I hope to be back for lives regularly through this week, but if I don't show up in a live, it's because I am still working on this retreat for you. Like I said, there's a lot of insight, and I guarantee that once you get this insight that I have to share with you, that is from God, as energy cannot be created or destroyed. Our feelings cannot be created and we cannot destroy them. That's not our job. Our job is to accept these feelings as we accept from where they came. And yes, they came from God. However, the feelings that we are fighting inside of us real time, they come from someone else. Two other people who are closest to you that you don't recognize are closest to you. I'm going to leave you with that, because I guarantee that once you figure this out, your trauma, the charge from that trauma will dissipate, and you will be able to live in freedom and live in the full, complete expression of who you want to be through Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. So with that said, you guys have a wonderful day. Be blessed, and I will see you back here in another live sometime. I'm hoping today, but maybe not, because I do still have some work to do. So I will see you in a live sometime this week. How's that sound? So again, if you have comments, questions, or suggestions, please email me, because I need to know what we're all thinking in attempts to address the things that we need to know, as it's not just me answering your questions. You guys help make this channel what it is today by interacting, by liking, by subscribing, by sharing, by commenting, by asking your questions, by sharing your own solutions and your own insight and your own ideas and your own faith. We're all here to contribute to help make each other better and grow, because it's all about sharing the love. So with that said, I love you guys. I truly do. Mwah. God bless.